They say to be careful what you wish for. And in today's video, I want to share some of the extra planning that we need to do if we have longevity in our genes. Our mother or our father, grandparents lived to into their late 90s, early 100s. What does it take? What happens if you live to 100? So let's jump in and talk about it. And my favorite tool for planning for longevity is actually Social Security. And the reason is it's backed by the government, it's indexed for inflation every year, and once we start taking it, it might get modified, who knows with what's going on, with the taxes and the deficit, but for the most part, it's one of the most secure sources of income that we can ask for. If we have investments, the stock market can crash. If we have a pension from a company, something can happen to that company. There is some called the PBGC, the Pension Benefit Guaranteed Corporation, but you could still end up getting a haircut on your pension. So I think our best bet is actually with our Social Security. So that's the first tool. And the nice thing about Social Security is if we choose to delay taking Social Security, so most of us watching this video are going to have a full retirement age of 67 years old. And if we take Social Security at 62, we're only going to get 70% of that. So if our Social Security check was going to be $2,000, now that Social Security check is going to be, if I'm doing the math right, $1,400. And for every year that we wait past our full retirement age, let's say it's 67, we get 8% more. So we can get up to 124% of that. So almost your $2,000 a month benefit check could go to almost $2,500. It would go to $2,480 a month. Versus if you took it at 62, it would only be $1,400 a month. So about a 75% difference, and that difference will continue to get paid as we get older. Now, this video is for longevity. If you want to retire now and you can't afford to retire without taking Social Security, there's other videos of mine, there's other videos on the internet, but the first one for longevity is if you can afford to do it, hold off on taking your Social Security as long as you can. Okay, I should say none of this is advice. I said that in a very prescriptive way. I don't know your situation. It's not financial advice, but it's worth having on your radar screen. Okay, the second one that not enough of us talk about is our health. And by health, I mean not just our physical health, but also our mental health. Because while living to 100 in good health and being able to still swim and go for nice leisurely walks, maybe go for a road bike. Heck, I've seen people in their late 80s and 90s surfing. Now, they may have somebody getting the surfboard past the break for them, but if I can still surf in my late 80s, sign me up for that. So staying physically fit is important. And for me, I think there's really three cores. I'm not a fitness expert, but there's strength training to keep our muscular mass, keep it from losing. And then there's also the cardiovascular, doing what you can to keep your cardiovascular health up. And the last one is just stretching and maintaining our flexibility. For me personally, the aches and pains of getting older, a lot of that is eliminated with a good yoga session. So think about keeping your physical health strong. Also think about keeping your mental health strong. Because while it'd be nice to be healthy and to live to 95 or 100, you're not going to want to live to 95 or 100 if mentally you feel like you're being tortured. And sometimes with mental health issues, it can feel like you're being tortured. So invest in your physical health and invest in your mental health. Okay, I said that Social Security is my favorite source of income. There's also something else that you should know about. It's called the deferred income annuity, and it's also known as a longevity annuity. And this is a type of annuity contract that starts kicking out guaranteed monthly income at a predetermined future date. So you could have it kick in when you're 90 years old. And because at 65, the likelihood of making it to 90 is likelihood of make, let's say 100 is pretty low. the likelihood that your insurance company, the annuity provider, is gonna have to pay that is pretty low, so it might be a lot more affordable than what you think. I'm not licensed to sell annuities. I don't wanna be licensed to sell annuities, but I do want you to have it on your radar screen. It could be a good use of an investment if you know longevity is on your side. Okay, the next one, kinda related to that, is long-term care insurance. Now, my wife's father just passed away at 92. He had long-term care insurance, and it ended up being a big challenge for my wife, who was providing a lot of the, uh, management of his care. It ended up being challenging to get the long-term care insurance to pay what she felt it should be paying. So, it's not a panacea, and the reality is, who's ever gonna be taking care of your affairs if you are no longer able to do it yourself, that's the person that's gonna have to deal with it, but it might be worth taking a second look at long-term care insurance if you know you're likely go if you have longevity in your genes, because I'm not an actuary, but I believe the longer you live, the more likely it is you're gonna spend some time in a long-term care facility. On that, you should know that Fidelity Investment tells us for our healthcare costs outside of long-term care, that it's actually $165,000 of expenses above and beyond what Medicare is gonna cover. So that can be expensive. We wanna plan for that. Which brings up another point. Having a good plan, financial plan in place might be one of the best gifts you can give yourself, and you're gonna wanna update that every couple years, or if you find your expenses are higher than what you thought they'd be or lower, just like if you go to the doctor for a physical and everything's fine, and then 3 months later you find a bump or a tender spot or you have a pain, you go back to the doctor. It's the same thing with a financial plan. The gold standard is to work with a fiduciary financial advisor. I know a lot of my audience is never gonna do that because of the cost, or you have to give up some control. If that's you, I urge you, don't do your own financial plan in Excel or Google Sheets. A, it takes a lot of time, and B, it's super easy to make a mistake. Instead, I encourage people um, to use software that's designed for them. The software I like is called Bolden, Boldin. It used to be called New Retirement, and you can find my link in the description for this video, and you'll be supporting this channel. I am an affiliate of Bolden. Okay, let's keep going. Another thing that might be worthwhile looking at is what's called continuous care, a continuous care facility. And what a continuous care facility um, is a place that within one community, you can go from independent living to some assisted living and then maybe a nursing home. And one of the advantages of that is you're within the same community, so you don't wanna feel isolated, and so being in the same community could have good benefits, for some people. So, again, I want that on your radar screen. The last 3 are if you have family, maintaining those relationships, keeping them strong. If you have pets, that can be good for your mental health. It can also a dog is always gonna be there smiling, happy to see you. A cat oftentimes is gonna be there, smiling and purring for you and there to cuddle. It can help with your mental health. It can help with your outlook. And then finally, faith, and not necessarily faith in a religious sense, that's not what I'm talking about, but just faith that things are going to work out. It does take a leap of faith because getting older is not for the faint at heart. And also waiting to retire is not for the faint at heart, right? We're eager to retire after we've worked 20, 30, 40 years. And it's why I made this video here, 8 things to stop doing until it's your time to retire. And so you can enjoy the journey to retirement. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.